You're listening to Zoo Nation.
Ready? You have the cameras rolling?
Come on, man.
Welcome to Zoo Nation, where we talk about the political zoo that we're in. We're cover history as it unfolds. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
And we're here to talk to you about the train that is derailed, Nikki Haley's presidential bid for 2024, and end with Trump being reinstated to Facebook, Meta, really, because of Instagram as well, and it'll lead to a conversation about big tech. Shout out real quick, please look up the episodes that he's going to do by himself. He made one recently about Trump being reinstated on Facebook. And he also did one where he talked about Biden and not just Joe, but also Hunter's ties to the CCP. And you need to listen to him. He'll be doing them once a week. Is that correct?
Yes.
So look into those. And he's also the one responsible for the sick new intro. So we're going to be putting that on the beginning of each episode like you just saw. So we're going to begin with the story having to do with this train. Train derails outside Detroit, Michigan with one car carrying hazardous materials. This is by Greg Norman of Fox News. Van Buren Township train derailment unfolds nearly 2 weeks after East Palestine and Ohio disaster. A train containing one car of hazardous materials has derailed Thursday in Van Buren Township outside Detroit, Michigan, reports say. The cause of the derailment was not immediately clear. Police told Fox 2 Detroit that there were no injuries and the area is not a hazmat situation. Officials that spoke to WXYZ, which reported that at least 6 cars were seen off the track, said one of them was carrying hazardous materials. The derailment comes less than 2 weeks after a train carrying toxic chemicals derailed in East Palestine, Ohio. Police told Fox 2 Detroit that roads will be closed in the area while an investigation is ongoing. And this will all be linked in the comment section, by the way, and the description of this video. We are also in touch with the relevant federal authorities, including the EPA. Representative Debbie Dingell, Democrat of Michigan, said in a statement, yeah, isn't that funny? Sounds like something from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Right.
When they find the baby, what's this? It's a baby, Dingell. That's what they literally say. It's like, I'm sure she got bullied in school, Debbie.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he, who knows?
What's your last name, Dingle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I wonder if she married a dude and that's the dude's last name.
Well, yeah, that's true, yeah.
He may be an elf. At this time, it'd be funny if he was short. At this time, no one is aware of the release of any hazardous materials. The car carrying hazardous material has been put upright and is being removed from the area of the other derailed cars, and EPA is dispatching a team to ensure public safety. By the way, back to Dingell, I wonder if he has a son and he goes by Buddy. So that would be funny. So, all right, well, to get into this, what were your thoughts when you heard about this story? We got to get into this.
It's crazy. Fun fact, I forget the name of the show, but it's weird. I'm not claiming anything. It's just weird. They made a movie on Netflix that literally is about a train derailing, and then the town has to evacuate, and then shortly after this happens, I forget the name of the movie. Little task for you, or I can do it afterwards. Either way, us. Look that up, and we'll link that here, in the description. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah. So it's weird. It's like, was this planned? Was it just the brakes failing? Who knows? I mean, it's just weird. And then also, evacuation issue. Then people are told that they can come back. It's safe, but is it really? I don't know, man. It's all weird. And then we've got other, spillings and burnings elsewhere and stuff going on. I don't what's going on? That's the big question.
So what you're saying, everything except for what you're literally saying, is the background is, can we trust what's being said?
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem that we're facing, I think, as a society in general, but definitely as people that are on the right, is when the media says really much of anything, what can we believe and what can we not believe?
Yeah.
What should we not believe if we have a brain in our head?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue. I mean, it stinks that we're in this position, but having been lied to for years, I mean, this obviously preceded the Trump administration, but having to do with the Russian collusion angle and how that ended up being a crock of malarkey, as Biden would say, that went nowhere.
Right.
And people like Adam Schiff and Rachel Maddow and Don Lemon or Lemon, however he likes to pronounce it, all these people that are entertainers and or news people, all bet their bottom dollar that there was something going on with Russia and the Trump administration. And then it was all nonsense because the Mueller report came out and the answer was, well, what we found, about half of it was inconclusive and the rest of the half showed that there was no collusion. So,
we also found out that it was Biden in Ukraine.
Yes. And so, and that came much later. So,
yeah, exactly.
And then, unfortunately, I mean, the thing that's interesting about that to me is they were desperate to try to politically, not actually like literally assassinate, but politically assassinate Trump.
Yeah, 100%.
And when the Russian collusion didn't work, then when Trump called, it was at that point Zelensky about Biden, and he didn't quite say anything about Biden. He talked about CrowdStrike, but they tried to make something out of it and say, well, even though he didn't say in the transcript that you need to investigate Biden, the way it happened was he did mention Biden, but he in no way said, if you don't investigate Biden, we're not going to give you support.
Right, exactly.
That was the key. Mm-hmm. And so they were trying to politically assassinate him. And because when it didn't work with the Russian collusion, when it didn't work with you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, you're an Islamophobe, whatever else it is, then they were like, well, what can we do to hit him? And I was actually just thinking this morning, it's crazy that he has been hit in so many ways. I was thinking, you really would have thought there was no way they could hit him again. And then they did with the FBI raid.
Yep.
So they're finding new ways to hit him. They're trying to now give him legal trouble, where they're trying to disqualify him in some way.
Classified documents, except for the fact that they weren't.
Yeah, and that Biden actually has them in like a garage.
In a Corvette, or no, Camaro,
some kind of car.
Yeah,
I actually don't know. It was a Chevy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much. But it's like, because nobody's going to be like, it's impossible to, get into a car. It's absolutely impossible versus, a lock safe, which is not impossible to get into, but a lot harder at least, like.
At least theoretically, I don't know what happened
there. And to
there.
boot, it's also very hard to get into Mar-a-Lago, let alone just to steal a Coke. Try stealing a Coke from Mar-a-Lago, let alone, classified / declassified documents, but then, trying to get into a garage and then a car, that's pretty decently easy for the most part. I could figure that one out. I could figure out how to get into a garage and then just bust the window open to a car. That's not hard.
I was wondering where my boomerang went.
Yeah.
So anyway, the thing is about, again, the reason you're even asking questions like, well, what exactly is going on is because of all this, because of all the lies. And now it's like, what? And I was just telling you off camera in the prep about a recent worldwide event that affected all of our lives and had us wearing masks that, I'm not going to say by name, we don't know
'cause we can't.
all the truth about that. Like, okay, was it a rodent that flies that someone ate at a wet market that led to it jumping species? Or was it gain of function research? There's a lot of questions there too, but it's pretty clear to us what we were told, at least the original story, was not true. Even the so-called experts are starting to say, well, there was different stuff going on. So now we read this on the news about a train derailing and having hazardous materials, and we're like, well, what happened? And we don't know. Did it actually have hazardous materials? People are being told now, like you're saying, oh, it's safe, it's not going to go into the water. Is that true? I mean, we've had our so-called experts get it wrong just a number of times. Again, not just with this worldwide event that caused chaos, but other things as well, things that have been wrong. And so the question is, what's real, what's fake, and importantly, what do we do? Does this mean what does this mean for the future? Who do we trust when it comes to the news? And I would tell people, at least for now, you need to do more pretty in-depth research. You need to listen not just to us, not just to one side or the other. Listen to a couple of sides for sure, but also do your own research and try if you can to get it directly from the source.
Well, that's like the biggest thing is like, and sadly, you know, even doing your own research can like be dangerous because like we don't know what is real research anymore. Like as far as like, but I mean, you got to decipher that yourself too. But with everything being put out there, you know, just, I mean, just so much. You know, you research if you research the poke, there we go. That won't get me bad. If you research, you know, the poke, you know, there's some completely baloney, you know, that is not even true on either side of the fence, you know, and then there's stuff that is true on the left side of the fence, and then there's stuff that is out there that's true on the right side of the fence, and you know, but yeah, doing your own research, but again, even that's hard to decipher nowadays because, you know, even our research is kind of against us to an extent too.
Well, there's so much on the internet that's not true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. But
George Washington said that. So.
Yeah, if you look, Wikipedia. Yeah. Man, that is one thing. If somebody said, "Well, I read on Wikipedia," no.
Yeah.
You are automatically discredited with the amount that can be edited and
yeah.
No, I'm done. I don't even care if they're arguing a point that I agree with. No, we're done with that one because there are certain sites like Wikipedia is not a credible source. Like
no.
Even we learned that in high school. Like,
we did.
Like,
if you went to a high school worth anything, you should have learned that.
Right, yeah. Wikipedia does not count as a credible source.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because anybody can edit it.
Well, and then I think of the dude that we know, we have a mutual friend, the guy I introduced you to, Mike. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He had one friend at one point that was saying, hey, all this stuff against Trump. And he goes, what are your sources? And he linked himself to Reddit. And it's like... What? Like, that's seriously your source, Reddit?
That's not a source.
That's not a source. That's one thing. Like, you're linking posts that people are posting on Reddit where they allege that Trump said or did this without any proof at all. And unfortunately, I mean, the thing about it, I mean, and look, we're all guilty of this to an extent or another, is where do people get a lot of their news from? Social media, frankly. Look, we all suffer from it to an extent. And not only that, but also you'll get automatic notifications to your phone about news. That's where most people get their news, and it's on you out there, on you and on me, to go the next step. To say, okay, well, is this true, or is this just stuff that's being told to me, and I'm going to find out in a week that it's not accurate. It's maybe something similar, but it's not actually how it was shown.
And my thing about it is like when it comes to the poke, this stuff, you know. Russia, China, anything, you know, in general, anything politically. I honestly, I mean, I do and don't care about what your stances are, but like at least know that you're being told the truth about what your stances are, and like, you know, do your research on the stuff and why, like, know why you stand for what you stand for. Like, oh, because the studies show, not the science. I'm tired of hearing the science shows. Okay, show me the science. Well, just go look up the science yourself. No. Show me the science. You know, no, I mean, actually show me the sources. You know, I mean, you got to know why you believe what you believe. I mean, that's a big thing. Again, I can at least respect you, you know, not just because, oh, well, the media said, or, oh, because, you know, Biden said, or, oh, because Trump said, you know, or DeSantis said. I honestly don't care. Well, where are they getting their stuff from?
Right.
Well, I don't know. Okay. Well, that's an issue. Like, it is. I mean, you can't just look at one person or one media outlet. You know, even myself, you know, I do not like CNN, but I still, you know, I pay attention to CNN and I pay attention to Fox News. I pay attention to Newsmax. I pay attention to all of it, and then go dig even deeper than that, you know.
Right.
But that's because I want all spectrums. Right. You know, I understand that, like, Newsmax is a right-wing thing. I understand that. I also understand that CNN, they're actually kind of attempting to not be as left, but they're still left, you know. CNN sucks, but still, you know, like, at least I want to know opposing points of view, and that it's not bad to learn about, you know, somebody that opposes you and at least try to understand or, you know, see the other side, you know. So I don't know. Just know why you believe it. Understand the other side of things, and do your own research. That's a big thing.
It is important to see the other side and frankly, as people on the political right, to know our enemy.
Yeah.
Like, one thing that I do a lot is not a lot in the sense that I tend to go on binges with this stuff, but a lot of people that I listen to either work at Young Turks or it's Kyle Kulinski and his, let's see, now fiance. They're not married yet. They were just boyfriend, girlfriend. Now it's Crystal Ball and Kyle Kulinski.
Right.
And they're both on the left, very much so. Less so with social issues, but they're there. They don't talk about it as much. They're much more about minimum wage going up, universal basic income. But yeah, they do care. They would, at least theoretically be like, oh, we're for Black Lives Matter, for legalization of drugs. So social and pro-choice. So social issues come up, but not nearly as much as other sites. Now the Young Turks, they're much more about everything left. They're everywhere, and it especially depends. Like Cenk, who runs things, is a little bit different than everyone else. What's funny, someone actually was one time researching them and watching a lot of, like, every day was watching, and he said it's funny, the pattern over at the Young Turks is for someone out there, and it may be Anna Kasparian, who went on the Ben Shapiro show recently. She seems to be maybe, at least in some ways, coming around. She made the politically incorrect statement that if you're homeless and beating people up, then that homeless person should be arrested, which is like, on the left is like, how could you hate the poor?
If you're anything and beating people up, you should be arrested. Yeah,
like she made some very much like anti-crime things, like, and the other thing she said was, okay, there's a problem with African Americans beating up Asian people. That needs to stop. And it was like, well, you can't say that. That's white racism for you to say that. And it's like, but it's racism for them to be beating up Asian people, or even if it's not racially motivated, they shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, you just shouldn't beat people up. Forget race for a minute. You shouldn't be beating people up unless it's self-defense, or if you were like, if I, saw you getting beat up on the street, I would try to help.
You're intervening, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're intervening in actual physical contact, not just going to beat somebody up because you saw somebody, getting fussed at. That's, that just because you're getting fussed at does not give you the right to, go out and swing and hit somebody. Like,
yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah. So she made that, but again, what will happen is and again, maybe she's starting to come to the middle a little bit, but for a long time, her or someone else on the Young Turks will make a far left point, and then Cenk, who is on the left for sure, he's it's hard to say moderate left. He's not. He's kind of out there too, but they're really out there, and they'll make a comment, then he'll say, well, so on the one hand, yeah, but he'll kind of try to sound like he's coming back to the center, even though he's not. He's definitely on the left. And as a result, since Cenk runs Young Turks, then they'll all eventually agree with Cenk. And it's a way really to it's kind of like a moving of the goalposts thing, where if you start way out here, like trans the children tomorrow, and then he says, well, let's do that in the next 50 years, then you're advancing a radical agenda, but you're doing it in such a way where it's not as offensive to people, and it's like a Trojan horse type thing. Right. And so that's the thing. And so I watch that though because I want to see, okay, what do you people think about different things going on? And it's fascinating. And so on one hand, you need to know your enemy, but the problem too is on both sides, there's an increasing, no, I don't want to hear it. And on the right side, I can understand it because it's propaganda on the left, right? It's all about how, as long as you are there for a trans child, then that child will have a happy life, which is just not true. We know this from studies, but also I don't want a society where that becomes the norm either. Even if by some stretch there was some kind of a study that was made up that showed that, I don't want our kids walking around in different bodies. I just don't want that.
100%.
And so the question is, I think you want to hear the other side. You want, number one, to have the free speech, right? But you don't want to give them any ground. I think that's the important thing, because the right has lost and lost and lost for so long by coming back to the middle. And I've said this recently, there's going to be a big push, I think, especially if Trump's the nominee, but even if DeSantis or someone else is too, depending on who it is, that's the thing. If that person then loses, whether fairly or like 2020, if that happens, then there will be a move in the Republican Party to come back to the middle. And that could last a couple of cycles before the move comes to push back further to the right. That will happen unless in 2020 someone more toward the middle runs and wins, which I don't think will happen. I kind of doubt it. I don't see that person on the horizon yet, but that's not a horrible segue to talk about 2024. Before we talk about the topic and the title of this video, do you have any general thoughts about 2024 that you feel like you haven't said yet?
If DeSantis runs, it's going to be between Trump, DeSantis, and that third person. Who is that third person is the question.
What do you mean by the third person?
It's going to come, in my opinion, the votes will come down to, or like the final stage or whatever, will come down to 3 big people.
So you're not saying that only 3 people will run.
No.
You're saying that eventually those will be the 3 that matter.
I think Chris Christie, he's announced that he's running again.
He's at least considering.
Yeah, he's strongly.
He's going
to run again.
A lot of people are considering.
Rubio's probably going to run again. Those two, I think, are knocked out pretty soon. Rubio possibly has a chance to be the third guy.
He is so slimy. He may echo a lot of good-sounding stuff and deceive a lot of people.
I just don't see him. I don't see him with the popularity contest there. Because it does come down to a popularity contest to an extent to be that third guy.
Sure.
I think Pence runs again.
Wow. You think so?
Yeah, because he's got now. The problem is with the 2020 stuff. That's going to be an issue for him.
Where do you stand on that? What do you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Specifically with what Pence should have done.
Yeah. I really don't know because as far as what he did do, I don't know if the facts are all there.
Okay.
I think that was kind of a not really type thing.
Okay.
I don't know. And also I do think that the riot, kind of did sway things just in general for people, which that's not necessarily good, but I do think that possibly caused some issue. I think there's a lot there to uncycle, but what he should have done, again, the whole thing was illegitimate, so it shouldn't have been up to him in the first place. That's where it came down to, but it shouldn't have been up to him in the first place. So that's kind of where I'm at on that whole thing. But I do think that Pence possibly could be that third guy just because, he ran off the coattails of Trump, and he's a good debater, man.
He is. I don't know, man.
That if he can talk his way around he's not going to get the MAGA voters.
That's the thing.
But if he could talk his way to get some DeSantis voters or get the Never Trumpers and stuff like that, shoot. You possibly have a good third guy. Plus, he's a Christian man. You get some of the Christian vote or evangelical vote in general.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying he possibly has potential to be that third guy. I don't really see another third guy though, but I do think it'll come down to 3, like a big 3 of all right, here's your choices of.
I think if he does run, it's going to be him. He'll be Jeb Bush for 2024. I think he gets beat like a drum.
I think that'd be Chris Christie and Rubio.
Well, they'll go out quickly. Again, with Rubio held on for a while.
Right.
He didn't drop out first.
Is Liz Cheney going to run?
Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Transgender Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah. I love it.
That is one ugly. Never mind.
She runs and she has Dan Crenshaw as her VP.
Oh my goodness.
That'd be like the Rhino ticket of all time. With Lindsey Graham.
Another one that might, although I think she'll run for VP, honestly, is
no.
Christie, no. I don't think she'll run.
She's considering it.
I know she's considering it, but I think that she'll probably decide to run for a VP. I think either way she possibly gets beat out, but she probably would be that big third person.
What do you think of her, generally speaking?
Generally speaking, I like her. I think she's better as a VP. I don't think it's like her time.
Okay.
Whereas I think DeSantis, it's one of those things, if he doesn't do it now, it might not be his time next time.
Really? Really?
It depends on what happens. Because, all right, let's say Trump makes it in. Let's say he doesn't run and Trump makes it in, and he wins the presidency. Oh, well, everything's fixed. And now DeSantis has nothing to run on as far as that, everything's fixed. And I get a feeling that we'd get another Democrat in.
Well,
Possibly.
it depends. So
Short-term memory.
yeah, on the one hand, but on the other hand, since Trump will be term limited, there will be a big push on the right to say, well, things are great. Let's keep things great. Kind of like Trump's
Yeah, 100%.
Keep America Great thing.
No, and I get that.
And the person to take the mantle, if Ron does not run, Ron may say, this is the moment I've been waiting for. I'll continue this thing.
I think for DeSantis, the moment is now. And if my thing is if you miss your moment, you missed your moment. And it's not happening.
He's gonna if Trump runs and wins and DeSantis does not, DeSantis will probably need to wait until another Democrat gets in and things start getting bad again.
Yeah.
Then Ron will say, all right, my time.
Yeah.
Maybe, again, that's the thing. It'll be very interesting. So
I think he should at least try it to get his name more out there.
So
I know people know of DeSantis.
We've talked about this, but let's just refresh the audience's mind. You want him to run. Do you think he will? DeSantis.
I think he's heavily considering it.
Do you think he will?
I've heard rumors, and as the rumors keep growing, I'm growing towards he's going to run.
Okay. All right.
And the reason I want DeSantis to run is because, one, I want somebody to really challenge Trump. Mm-hmm. Because I want the poke debate, possibly. Hopefully, I don't know if he's that guy, though, because he's honestly debating himself there.
Yeah. See, that's the issue.
Yeah. So.
And I've heard, I need to corroborate this, that he has actually given more speeches talking about how good it is, even more than Trump, even though Trump made warp speed. No, neither one of them has, to my knowledge, come out about it recently.
Trump talks about how good it is.
Recently?
Oh yeah. He
really?
It was at one of his not a rally, but he was what was he? I believe it was a talk show. Okay. It was recently. I'll have to find it. But yeah, there was a fairly recent where he talks about.
You're right, though. To me, if he hits Trump on that, Trump will hit back twice as hard. The question is,
DeSantis at least says, "Well, I haven't said it recently."
Well, that's the thing. Will DeSantis then say, "I've changed my mind"?
Exactly, which you can't. Which people can't accept. I think.
That's the
Some
thing.
people won't accept. No, politicians never change their mind. Well, people change their mind in general.
Yeah, they should. But see, the other thing is, I think honestly, if Trump or DeSantis said they changed their mind on this, it would actually gain some credibility with the constituency. The question is, will they? And I don't know.
Except for with
that
Trump,
would be harder. To me, I don't think that comes up first debate. That may be like fourth or fifth.
Oh yeah.
Finally, they say, okay, like they talk about everything else. All right, we have a question. It may be like, those things where they'll ask some voter, and it'll be like a video in the debate. Hi, my name is Jack from Jacksonville, Mississippi.
Yeah.
I have a question about, and maybe that. And then it'll be, first, Mr. Trump, what do you think? Former President Trump, what do you think? And then Governor DeSantis, what do you think? What do they answer? They may give a gish gallop, well, and maybe a roundabout way where they don't really answer it, or they may answer it. I don't know.
Man, how do you get on those questions?
Well, I think you tweet the video at whoever's hosting.
Man, so it's random selection. Dang.
Probably. See, that's the problem is they may vet it out.
I will pay to get on one of those.
They may vet it out.
I will pay for both of us to get on one of those.
That'd be awesome. But anyway, I don't know. I think so. Noam is considering another name I've heard that's considering it is Tim Scott. It's pretty confirmed that DeSantis is considering it. He's talking to people in his administration as governor.
Yeah.
Now, what if we run? Will you either run with me or help my campaign? So the question is, will he? To me, it's a toss-up. I don't know. I don't know. On the one hand, I think it's more likely that he runs than not, but he hasn't announced yet. And to go into this now, we've talked a little bit about 2020. We've got the former governor of this state, South Carolina, announcing her run. She has announced in a video presidential campaign saying it's time for a new generation of leadership. From Fox, Ron Blitzer, Haley joins former President Donald Trump in vying for the GOP nomination. Former South Carolina governor and UN ambassador Nikki Haley announced Tuesday that she is running for president, seeking the Republican nomination for the 2024 election. In a video message posted on Twitter, Haley touted her record as South Carolina's governor while looking for the future and the needs of the country. It's time for a new generation of leadership, Haley stated. Haley identified numerous threats facing the country from the socialist left to Russia and China, warning that there are those who see the United States as vulnerable. They all think we can be bullied, kicked around. You should know this about me. I don't put up with bullies. After a formal announcement Wednesday in Charleston, South Carolina, Haley hit the campaign trail first in New Hampshire and then Iowa, the two states that kick off the GOP presidential nominating calendar. She also recently made a statement saying there needs to be a mental competency test for politicians over 75.
Yes.
Which is interesting to me. I said this on my podcast.
You have my vote. No,
I said on my podcast, I think there's plenty of people that are 35 that would fail it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah. Like,
I mean, look at AOC. You know,
I'd set that number lower, over 60.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's the thing. I feel like a cool 70 or 60 would be the mark. Because here's the thing. People were saying all the time about...
how about there's just a politician, there's a test in general. Like, forget age for a second. Like,
yeah.
You should be a competent person.
Yeah.
You know, forget the age. Like, I don't care how old you are. Like, everybody's got to pass this test. 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever. Like, right. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, well, and to me...
Don't be discriminatory. Oh my gosh, can't say the word. Anyway, don't discriminate on age.
A lot of people were talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg because there was a lot of her either dozing off or falling asleep in the meetings of the Supreme Court. And to me, it's like, if you can't stay awake, then you need to retire. Yeah. And that may have been why, Judge Kennedy retired and he ended up being replaced by Kavanaugh. Because of how old he was getting. And at least he stepped down and retired, thank goodness. RBG refused. And then she ended up dying in Trump's term, and Trump ended up putting in...
I think that was planned.
It could. Well, the question is, was she trying to hold out for Biden to win?
I think
probably.
So. I think
she just couldn't beat her cancer.
Yeah.
And look, cancer is always a horrible thing, no matter what. Several people celebrated when she died. I did not.
I would not. No, right. I don't celebrate over any death.
Now, well, the thing is, so I have a line where I would, if you're Stalin, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about Stalin. We're talking about a woman that served on the Supreme Court.
And even then, I'm not celebrating that person dying. It's more of the evil gone. You know what I mean?
They won't commit any more evil.
But exactly. At least there's no evil because of that person anymore. You know, for example, Osama. Mm-hmm. You know, same thing. You know, but it's still from a religious standpoint. Man, that's a soul burning in hell.
It's true.
You know, so that there is happiness in the sense of that that evil is at least gone, but man, that's a soul in hell. You know, so
it's true.
I mean that there's two sides of that coin.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Even then, I'm like, well, if you live a life of this kind, you are getting your judgment. You are getting your payment.
100%.
You're in the hands of an angry God now. So I get that. On the one hand, yes, I get it that it's a loss. But on the other hand, you're making a choice by killing that many people when you're Stalin, for example.
And in those cases, I'm when I say happy, I'm not going out throwing parties about it, but
really, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm never
weird to celebrate.
But yeah, good. That's gone. I am very that's the type of rejoicing or whatever you want to call it. But I'm not gonna go out. Oh yeah, let's go have drinks with the boys because all this it's well, first off, you didn't partake in it for one.
you didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, you didn't have anything to do with it. So
I say credit for it.
But and you act like this is the Super Bowl type thing, and you're a fan of it. Well, no, I'm not gonna be a fan of death or whatever.
By the way, did you watch the Eagles beat the Eagles?
Yeah. Well, oh my god.
I wonder if Fetterman went and watched.
Yeah, I know. Right?
I said it to my family. I wonder if Fetterman's watching this.
Oh man!
Every time the Chiefs score, yay Eagles!
Golly.
Speaking of which, he went back to the hospital.
Yeah, and apparently he can't understand words now.
Oh, I did not hear that.
Yeah, it turns out. I mean, and I feel bad for the guy.
So he's Joe Biden.
Yeah, pretty much. yeah. Except for the fact that he actually has an excuse.
Yeah, he actually does, and I shouldn't be laughing. That's actually sad.
No, I mean it is.
Biden is a crook, and look, Fetterman is too. But Fetterman should never have been on the ballot. I mean, it's Fetterman should
for his own health.
Yes, exactly. If nothing else, for his own health.
For his own health and the country's health.
For his own health first. Secondly, for the country's health.
Yeah.
Thirdly, for the party. If you're the Democrat Party, why do you want that representing? I mean,
you're just looking bad sitting here putting, actual mentally. I say mentally ill in the sense of brain damage wise.
He has a biological problem, not a psychological problem. A biological problem.
Right. Yeah, that's
because of
what
a
I'm looking for.
stroke.
Right,
you know?
exactly. That's the word I'm
An
looking for.
untreated
And it's
or undertreated stroke.
It's like, really, you're putting sick people, like, come on, that's just cruel,
Yeah.
you know, like, and then, you know, congratulations, you know, Pennsylvania, though, you now are going to have Fetterman's wife, you know, as, you know, senator? Yeah.
Which that shouldn't be. There should be another election, or there should be a backup plan that's not the spouse of the person. Like, that'd be really weird if Tim Scott's wife took over for Tim Scott. That makes no sense to me. It shouldn't be a spouse. It should be some other person in government. Theoretically, someone that's more qualified to do it.
I guess he was right, though, when he said, I am Fetterwoman.
Oh, wow. I did not think of that. He was a prophet.
He called it.
He called it.
Like,
He
yeah.
called it.
But I do feel bad for the guy.
And, you know,
I disagree with him wholeheartedly. He is a socialist 100%. Like, I mean, he is a straight up socialist.
He's not just that. He's, like, just a morally degenerate person.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I disagree. But, again, like, you know, this is not one of the... I am not happy for anybody's, you know, misfortune and health
Especially
or anything.
Stroke, yeah, man.
Yeah, no,
Strokes
I
are
mean,
awful.
that's never a good thing. And, you know, I never want any of that. But, yeah, I mean, back to...
Haley,
Haley.
the whole test thing regarding being 75. I don't have a problem with it. I think, again, like you say, 60, maybe 70, something like that
Yeah.
would be good. I don't really have a problem with that. The problem is, how do you get that done? How do you draft that kind of a bill where you've got Chuck Grassley and Bernie Sanders in office, still in office, and they're both 80, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, how...
I mean, if you can pass, you can pass. I mean...
This is true. But
Like,
I
if
mean,
you are still mentally,
I honestly think
competent,
that Sanders probably could.
Yeah.
I think that Grassley
he's
probably could.
He's definitely mentally competent.
But the problem
sadly.
is, he would probably be told behind closed doors, don't vote for it, and
Yeah.
it's because of the Fettermans and the Bidens. of the
Yeah.
world. So yeah, it's crazy. The other thing that's funny is and also I think of Maxine Waters. I mean, she's delusional too. I don't know if she's quite like in the stages of dementia, but she's delusional.
The question is, what do you classify as mentally competent?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess in this case, it's like, can you understand words?
Yeah.
Like, can you do simple math? Can you do, et cetera, et cetera? Like, can you do basic
I think some
things?
kind of a reading comprehension will be
It wouldn't
good.
it wouldn't be able to have
something-
anything to do with politics.
Yeah, I agree with
It'd
that.
have to do with, like, reading, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like, reading and actually comprehending it,
Sure.
et cetera. I mean, it'd be like tests you took in school.
Yeah,
honestly.
well, I think that it should span a lot of things. I should think it should include naming what state, so the state you represent, but also the district. Like, you need to be able to name, if you're a representative, the district. Like, if you are representing the 4th, don't say you're representing the 17th. You know what I
No,
mean?
yeah,
Like, don't
100%.
if you, let's say, theoretically used to represent the
Yeah,
17th, or you just get it wrong anyway.
Numbers aren't that hard.
Or if you say who's president and you say Barack Obama, well, I'm sorry, you get a fail.
Yeah, you should be able to name at least, last 3 presidents?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, some kind of a mark that's achievable.
Yeah.
And reasonable, and not things that easy. Also, some harder stuff
Right,
like
right.
Okay, what's the First Amendment? What's the just
Yeah.
different things, you know, and also read this. Okay, write about this in this section. Some kind of like a
exactly.
short. It could be a short essay. It could be like a paragraph. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that shows you can read
Just
it
to
and write.
show that you have the ability to do these things. I'm not against it. I'm totally for that. Like, I'm not against this in any way, shape, or form. Republican, Democrat. Like, yeah, I want everybody, again, Republican or Democrat.
There should be some kind of a benchmark where
Yeah.
okay, you succeed and okay, you fail.
All right, cool. I don't like your policy, but move on.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah,
know, like,
you pass the test, so you can stay in until your constituents vote
Yeah,
you out.
exactly.
That's how it is.
exactly.
So anyway, so that was a story. To go into another one, there's actually an article I'll link about Haley's times that she's disagreed with Trump. By the way, go into Haley real quick before we go on to the last topic about big tech. What do you think about Haley, just generally speaking?
I mean, she did pretty well with South Carolina, in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, sure, there were some fails. But at the same point, I mean, she could be that third person. Like, that third big... She's pretty popular. She
Yeah.
did. I mean, she's done well in foreign affairs, too, in my opinion.
From what I've heard, she did good.
You know, and that's a big thing for her. She did well in, foreign affairs. I mean, she did.
One thing that she'd said in her announcement speech, she said, "I've never lost a race," and that is true. She can honestly say that.
And Trump has. And Trump has.
Well, did he though?
Yeah, okay. The paper says yes.
So, me personally, from what I've heard, and again, this predates me a little bit because I was not that politically aware when she got in as governor.
Yeah.
So what happened? We had Mark Sanford, who, from what I've heard, was actually a good governor, but there was an extramarital affair.
Yeah.
And as a result, he either got impeached, removed, and his replacement got in, and then it was Haley, right?
Yeah.
So Haley gets in, and she was elected on like the backbone of the Tea Party. So
Yeah.
she was real hard Tea Party. So was Marco Rubio, and so was Paul Ryan. Now, we've seen with Paul Ryan and Marco Rubio, those people have not materialized as far as like being politically minded conservative. They have had all kinds of issues. For a while, things were okay. Honestly, when Paul Ryan was Romney's VP, he represented himself very well and seemed very well put together and was competent. So anyway, there was that. And Haley kind of came in this same Tea Party time of like people were marching in Washington talking about Obama and saying we want our country back. All the corruption going on. I mean, Bongino says pretty much every day, or at least he was when he was on Twitter, Obama's the most corrupt president in U.S. history. And so they were
Now it's Biden.
Well, let's a tie. How about that? I would say it's a tie. It's Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Which one's worse?
I don't know.
It probably depends on the day. The question is, do you think that Biden's actually responsible for what's going on, or do you think
Yes.
his handlers are?
Dude,
I think it's a mixture.
Again, classified documents all the way from when he was a senator.
But did he know what he was doing then, and he doesn't know
Yes.
what he's doing now?
Yes. Joe Biden then knew what he was doing.
Oh, of course. But does he know now?
Now, no, maybe not. But again, then, yes.
Okay.
Like, that's still my thing, is like, he knew then.
Well, for sure.
That makes him corrupt then.
Okay.
He's still corrupt now. You
I
know,
see
you know what I'm saying? Like,
You're retroactively saying because of past corruption, we can say he to this day is the most
yeah.
corrupt, and I get that. It's a negative,
in my opinion.
right?
You know,
it's a
like,
negative
yeah.
track record.
Plus,
know?
his son has been corrupt for quite some time as well, and he
Not only
has known about that.
Not only
too.
his son, his brother. Y'all need to do some research on Jim Biden. He's
Yeah,
been
exactly.
tied into a lot of
and
stuff
he's
too.
known about that stuff. It's
Yeah,
like, so
yeah.
even if you haven't necessarily played, which he has played roles in these things too, even if you haven't, let's say he hadn't played roles, even if you haven't, but knowing about this corruption and not doing something about it still makes you a corrupt person.
Yeah.
You know, if I saw you assault a person, like you started it, and not in self-defense, but you assaulted a person, that, and I don't report it to the police or something, that makes me, a product of that issue, and does make me part of the problem.
It makes you part of the problem. It makes you complicit, or not complicit, but maybe complicit. You're not helping the person doing the assaulting, but you're also not stopping it.
Right.
And there is an aspect of.
And if you ended up killing the guy, it kind of
Right.
makes me like not an accessory to murder,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely does tie me in to an extent. You know what I
Right,
mean? So
right,
it's the
right.
same concept here.
Yeah.
You know.
So when it comes to Haley, the main thing that I think about was the whole rebel flag thing in South Carolina.
Yeah.
You know the story. The shooting had happened. Not going to say the guy's name, even though I know it.
Yeah.
He's thankfully, to this day in 2023, he has the death penalty. He has yet to have that happen to him because they're going through
Because
all
our
the...
process kind of sucks.
Yeah,
But-
it definitely does. So anyway, but shortly after that, and even the thing is, they all showed the same picture of the guy. That picture didn't even have the rebel flag in it, but there's other side pictures of him with the flag. And of course, then the pressure was on because people started protesting, take the flag down because it was on South Carolina government property. It was in Columbia.
Yeah.
And then there was a movement to take it down. And the thing is, she had run on the idea of it's a non-issue. I've never been asked about this except for in this debate. She was asked it in a debate. And she said, other than that, I've never even been asked about the flag. It's a non-issue. Then all the pressure comes down, and to me, she ended up kind of caving into the pressure. It's almost like she bowed to a woke mob rather than saying, that's not the values that I was elected under, so I'm going to stay with the values of the people that elected me.
Yeah.
And she ended up saying instead, well, it's a politically incorrect thing to say to follow with that, so as a result, I'm going to do what the crowd in this moment wants me to do. Now, here's the thing. Having said that, my personal feelings about the flag being on government property, I really couldn't care less.
Yeah.
If our state or some other state wants to fly it, that's up for them to vote.
State rights.
My objection is the like, I guess, some symbolism of, oh, the pressure was on and you gave in. That's my issue. Now the
But you can make
idea.
that argument for Trump too.
Let me finish first, and we'll go into that because I'm curious. I want to hear that. So there's that. Now, what would have been inappropriate is if she said, not only are we taking it down, but we're criminalizing the flying of the flag.
yeah.
Because that's a freedom of speech issue.
Yeah, well, that would have been a huge issue.
Go ahead with what you're going to say about Trump.
Well, no.
What specifically?
About the flag real quick, though. My thing with the flag is, personally, I think the only, I've had mixed opinions. Like, I was kind of against it. But then kind of thinking a little more about it, like, the only flags that really, in my opinion, that should, really be on, the State House or whatever, or just in the state, in my opinion, is, your state flag and...
The trans flag?
Yeah, 100%. Right where I was going. You hit the nail on the head, except for you hit the wood. But anyway...
I thought you were going to say something else.
But you hit it with the wrong side of the you hit it with the wrong side of the hammer too. Dang. Actually, you used a drill.
At least it was a hammer, not a scalpel.
Right. Man, oh man.
Vasectomy.
Gracious. No, but the state flag and the United States flag. That's my personal opinion.
Oh,
because
not the rainbow flag. I thought you were going to go there.
Yeah, totally. Because, in my opinion, let's be honest, all those flags, pretty much any other flag, kind of do make a political statement. Mm-hmm. And, a government building is not, a place for that. You're representing your state. That's what you're here to do. You're not here to represent the LGBT. You're not here to represent, kind of, sort of, but, that building is not. It's here to be, bipartisan, quote unquote, or whatever. You get where I'm going with this?
Trying to,
yeah. So it's you're here to represent your state, and you're here to represent the United States. That's where it should stay.
Gotcha.
And it should not. If you put a LGBT flag, you're making a statement of hey, this is what we stand for, and only this. You put a Blue Lives Matter up there. Hey, this is what we stand for, and only this. We don't care about.
But again,
I'm not saying it
gets hard because if that state legislator votes to fly that, don't replace the American flag with that.
Oh no, 100%.
But if you vote to fly that, I don't really have an issue with that. So again, to me, this is where localism kind of comes down. This is at the state level.
Yeah.
If Texas or a county in Texas or a county in South Carolina says at our capital or big city hall we'll fly this, if they have a vote and they come to that, I don't really care. Now, if there is a blue state that flies some kind of a BLM flag or a rainbow flag or a trans flag, do I like that? No. And am I going to criticize that? Yes. But to me, it's a value thing. It's because of what those symbols represent as sin, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's the thing. So to me, it's about a local vote. And again, I don't have an extra grind here. They voted, the state legislator in South Carolina voted to take it down. Again, the step that would have been too far is, and now you can't have it on your truck, and now you can't wear it. 100%. And I know you're with me on that. I'm just saying that's a different line than, well, we don't want to take it down. It'd be one thing if they decided to take it down for other reasons. I just hate the way that it was done. The way that it was done was people were literally crawling up the flagpole at the Capitol and ripping it down and suffered pretty much no consequences for that when that's a crime. You can't rip down a flag. The thing is, we're going to get to the point in the future probably of people
ripping... already push down statues.
Well, there's that. But also, so we eventually went there, true too. Yeah. But also, eventually, it's going to be the American flag. Because for a while, people say, "Well, what you going to do next? Attack the American flag?" Well, they're starting to.
No, they've been doing
the thing about literally the national anthem. They sung a black national anthem at the Super Bowl, and I don't know if you saw this, but Carrie Lake refused to stand.
I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, I watched after kickoff,
really?
And so I missed the national anthem. And I love the national anthem, but apparently they sang, I forget the name of the song.
Yeah, I heard that
some kind of a black national anthem. I forget, it has the word free in it, but I forget the rest of it.
Lift Every Voice.
Something, maybe
like that. Yeah, something like that. But
Carrie Lake refused to stand. Apparently she was there and didn't stand and got into a lot of controversy. And I actually covered this on a podcast, not this one, mine. Larry Elder came out and defended her and said that is ridiculous that we were singing the black national anthem. There's one national anthem and it's called it's Francis Scott Key's song, about the Star Spangled Banner, you know? So it's like, it's just really bad.
And here's the thing. Okay, she got criticized for not standing for the Black National Anthem. Now, wait a minute. If you guys have the right to not stand for the national anthem in general, then she has the right. It's not a one-way street.
No, they don't care about that. They want to have the power.
You got to stay with your argument.
Well, I mean, they don't care about logical consistency. They want to have the power to punish people.
Now they can say it's hypocritical. Oh, you won't. You're against people not standing for the national anthem, but except for the fact that that's actually like the legitimate national anthem. This thing is not like legitimate, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's not.
Like, yeah.
How about this?
Know.
It's as legitimate as the 2020 election.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
And the $3 bill I just printed.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. My thing with the whole flag thing is, it's like, you're not. Yes and no. As the governor, you are there to represent all people, even if you disagree with them. You know, you represent the state. You don't. I don't know. I think, Democrat or Republican, the best thing is just keep it state flag, American flag. That way you keep both. In my opinion, you keep everybody happy.
Okay, that's
like
fine.
just to. That's one of the things. Just to like. Sometimes it's just best to keep it quote unquote professional and just fine. We stay out of both of them.
Okay.
Like even if I agree heavily for the LGBT or whatever, I'm gonna stay out of it. Like just to leave it alone and nobody can fuss. That way nobody can fuss about it and it's not another stupid issue diverging us from major issues. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of also my thing is like. It's not that big of a deal, so like, just leave it alone and leave it at these two things, and then nobody can really complain. And if they do, it's kind of stupid.
So to wrap up with the Haley thing, what would she need to say or do for her to earn your vote? What's a winning platform where you say, yeah, I can get behind that?
The poke.
Okay.
I gotta know that.
And to be fair, I don't know if I mean, she probably said something on the positive side at least one time because she was in the Trump administration. But to be honest, I can't remember exactly. Yeah. Like, I think she's been pretty quiet on that. So we'll see. We'll see.
And then it's got to be the poke. School system.
Okay.
Which goes with LGBT stuff and everything.
Specifically, like the banning of critical race theory.
Yeah, and transgender stuff, transing of the kids, LGBT stuff being taught in schools, et cetera, on that. And then also...
So countrywide, like you want federal law banning it, or you want some kind of changing of the Secretary of Education where it's less incentivized? What are you talking about specifically?
I mean... I mean... I don't know. I don't know how to go across. I want to hear... These are things that I want to hear the ideas of, though.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I don't know the process.
I'm with you on that.
You know what I mean? So, but I need these people, whoever runs. So if she wants my vote, I gotta hear her... I gotta hear her idea at least, and then listen to Trump's, listen to whoever's, That's who I've got to figure out.
That may be, if there's no other good thing about DeSantis running... He did something.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get the conversation going.
Exactly.
Okay, are you going to follow suit as president?
Exactly.
And that would be great. I would love to see that.
And is his idea good? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Is Nikki Haley's idea good? Mm-hmm. All right, cool. That you dissect it there.
Yep, you pick and choose.
And another thing I think is foreign affairs, which I think that she's got a pretty decent history in, but I've got to know what's your stance on Ukraine, Russia, China.
So what's a winning answer there? If you what kind of question would you ask about Ukraine and Russia?
Well, we're stopping the funding of Ukraine.
Okay,
that's got to be done with, for one, in my opinion. And we're not backing down on Russia and China though. Okay. As far as like we're not allowing spy balloons. We're not allowed, like, no more. We got to revamp military as far as, like, hey, we're not going to attack anybody. Like, we're not going to war. I don't want to hear, we got to go to war. That's definitely not what I want to hear. I don't want any, future children or us or anybody to have to go to war. That's not. But we got to have our military back up to where like, hey, you aren't messing with us if stuff hits the fan. So that's kind of the. I got to know that she's willing to bring back the military and just know that we aren't that mess around country.
And I think in that same vein, stop the training of our military to be woke people.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Like
the woke thing's
like
gotta
the
go.
ads that were running about the army being, I'm a lesbian that has a son,
It's
and
like cool, nobody cares.
and it's like, and I get to join the U.S. Army. It's like that needs to stop. Stop recruiting people like that, and stop teaching that in the military. And also, I mean, Biden brought this back after Trump had banned it when he was in. I think there shouldn't be trans people in the military, and Biden brought that back. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, as much respect as I have for we'll say Chelsea Manning, but formerly Bradley Manning, as a whistleblower on truth and stuff like that, I don't think that Chelsea should be in the military because he's a dude and shouldn't refer to himself as Chelsea. And look, while you're a dude, thank you for your service, but you don't need to be the face of the United States military. That's just not how that should 100%. Be. And there's other people like that too. So anyway, that's one
what
thing.
What you got to do to win your vote?
Well, and I don't have my phone nearby. Basically, I made a statement, and y'all can follow me on Telegram. He mainly runs the podcast on here during the week. I have a separate one called The Fog and the Whirlwind. And basically, let me try and pull it up. I have it in Telegram where I basically said I had a list of things. If memory serves, pro-America and just generally conservative.
Agreed.
And the other two were anti-war and anti-establishment. I believe that was the four things.
But not anti-defense, though, right? Like
when I say anti-war, it means basically what you just said. I think I would amen heartily everything you just said.
Yeah, be one of those mess around and find out countries.
And to be honest, that was kind of what Trump ran on. He said, I'm going to rebuild our military. It'll be very strong and powerful, so much so that no one's going to want to mess with us.
Yeah,
and I would agree with that heartily. So let me find it.
And that's what I want. I want one of those, like, I want to be the type of, like, hey, I don't mess around, we don't mess around, but hey, you mess around and find out. Like, mess around and find out what happens, but we're not going to initiate anything. That's the type of thing that I would like,
Let me find it real quick. I had a post. Let's see. Sorry for the dead air, y'all. I'm trying to find a post. I don't see the things that I said. Anyway, but yeah, that was basically it, those four things. And I don't know. Right now, the main name that I see is Trump. He is feared by the left in a way that they don't really fear anyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Turn this off. There's one last story we got to go into. But basically, if someone better runs, I'm going with them. If they're going to put America first in a better way, if they're going to stand for values in a better way.
So even if Schedule F is what he runs on, you're still going to go with a better candidate?
Well, that better candidate needs to go with Schedule F.
Oh, I got you.
That's the thing. That they, in a weird way, they would need to match. So this gets complicated. They would need to match a lot of those policies, but I would have to have assurance that they will carry it out. I have a decent amount of assurance that Trump would because of his record.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with that.
So that's the kind of key. It's like, well, is this again not Lindsey Graham, but some other politician that has made all these promises and yet has kept very few of them, or is this someone that has a good record about what they've said and will they actually do it? Is the kind of the question. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. I guess we can go to the last story having to do with Trump being reinstated on Meta. I don't think anyone saw this coming.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone thought that, the day will come very soon where Trump will be back on Facebook and on Instagram. Now, one thing I think we mentioned it in the last, either you and I mentioned it in the prep last time we talked, or we actually mentioned it in the episode. We'd have to go back and look. We talked about, honestly, I was on Facebook. You got on Facebook pretty recently. I was on Facebook in 2015 and 2016. And a lot of the conservative discussion was on Facebook. Now, Trump was on Twitter and he would tweet and people would tweet back at him and there was some conservatives on there. But for the longest time until, to an extent, recently, Twitter was dominated by, it became a meme, the blue checks.
Yeah,
they were leftists, right? Yep. If you had a blue check on Twitter for a long time, unless you were like a conservative politician, you were probably on the left because they got the blue checks. They got the follows, they got the blue checks. And so, and then they started removing people. Like they removed AJ, who runs InfoWars. They removed Stefan Molyneux. They started removing people, and Gavin McInnes. They started removing people. And so, as a result, Twitter was very censored. Facebook had censorship, but there was a lot of people that were still on Facebook. And then Trump lost his account. So the question kind of is, why? Like, why did he get his account back? Was there an appeals process? So here we go. Trump was suspended after January the 6th, 2021. We kind of know why. The accusation was that he had started a riot. Meta, though, has restored Trump's Facebook and Instagram accounts. Meta says his accounts no longer pose a serious threat or risk to public safety. The Facebook and Instagram pages belonging to former President Donald Trump were restored Thursday. Meta, who also owns and operates Facebook and Instagram, announced last month via a blog post that it would be ending Trump's suspension on both social media platforms in the coming weeks. Nick Clegg, the president of global affairs at Meta, said at the time that the company determined Trump is no longer a serious risk to public safety and that they had guardrails in place for his return. That's an interesting line. They have guardrails. So to me, he's on thin ice. If he does anything that they disagree with or dislike, then he'll lose it. To assess whether the serious risk to public safety that existed in January 2021 has sufficiently receded, we have evaluated the current environment according to our crisis policy protocol, which included looking at the conduct of the U.S. 2022 midterm elections and expert assessments on the current security environment. To me, they're watching him and they're like, well, as much as we don't like it, you're not doing what we suspended you for. So again, to me, if he sneezes, he's going to be gone again. The question is, will he even use it? So he's got his Twitter back. People know that, but he's not used it. So the question is, are they going to...
That one actually surprises me.
Yeah, that was surprising to me too. Well, on the one hand, it was. On the other hand, Elon did get it. So I thought, well, if anyone's going to reinstate him, it would be him. All the other people like Dorsey and all these other people, there was no chance.
No, I'm surprised that he didn't go back to...
Oh, you mean that?
I see. Because, because Elon, got it. And, I don't know. I would think that Trump would be the guy to, give Elon a chance, but maybe he's just against Twitter in general now, and also just the whole promotion of his own, thing too.
I honestly think some of it's that is, if you want to see what I post, come on Truth Social. I think there's an aspect of that. And then Truth Social will grow, and then he can keep it going, maybe.
That, to me, is a bad marketing technique, though. As far as, not marketing for True Social, but as far as, you got to market yourself a little bit as far as, politician.
I mean, the question is, are you going to censor yourself on these social media platforms so that you don't get removed again? Because if you say the truth and then you get removed again, you're no better off.
What does he lose if he goes on?
Well, the thing is, he'd have to arguably censor himself quite a bit. He'd have to be very careful to walk. Again, if he's on thin ice...
If he gets banned again, media attention.
There's that. Again, so you're
it's a
saying,
win-win for him,
you're saying he should come back and just say whatever he wants to say, and if they remove him, then it's media attention.
I mean, I've been the guy that said Trump needs to tone it down in general.
Sure.
Not because of freedom of speech issues, or I think I would like it if Trump was a little more professional. I've always been that guy.
Sure.
So I would like him to tone things down just the way he says things, not in what he says, but how he says it.
Sure.
So no, I don't think he should, tone it down because, I'm scared to get banned, et cetera, et cetera. Now I think he should tone it down in the process of how he says things. But that has nothing to do with, banning issues or anything. So no, I don't think he should, come back because I don't think if he came back that he should tone it down. No, but again, the way I see it is with the way Trump is, it's a win-win, because if he stays on, great, he's going to get attention because he's still on Facebook or he's still on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. Again, he still gets attention.
Sure.
If he gets banned, boom, instantly attention again.
Sure.
And people are irritated. He gets, a fire lit up again. Hey, I mean, I'm just saying, I think it's a win-win for Trump either way.
Sure.
That's the way I see it. It doesn't hurt him.
I don't disagree. I really don't disagree.
I mean, clearly it's wrong that he would get banned, but
sure.
Again, it's a good marketing standpoint, in my opinion, for as he's making a run.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder. So the primary, the first debates haven't happened. I do wonder if he's gonna wait, and then whenever the debates start, he might start tweeting again.
Yeah,
he might start posting to Facebook. His team anyway. I don't know. everything that came out on Twitter was from his own hand, but a lot of the Facebook stuff was his team, Brad Parscale, who helped run his campaign, stuff like that. So I don't know. That's the question. How will it be used, and if it's going to be used, again, how so?
Yeah.
And the thing is, he doesn't have his YouTube channel back, so the question is, what will happen there? I mean, it exists, but he can't upload.
Yeah.
Is at least how it was. I think it still is. There is a Trump White House archive, but that's like speeches.
Yeah.
It's not rallies and other clips and stuff he wants to put out. So I was pretty surprised that it came back, because as bad as Dorsey was, now Elon's the CEO, so that changes. Zuckerberg never changed. Like, Zuckerberg didn't sell. Zuckerberg is still in charge of Meta.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense for Twitter to have a change of management and that change. There's not been a change of management at least at Meta, to my knowledge. I've not heard that he has stepped down.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people stepped down in 2020, if you remember, including Gates and a lot of people like that. I don't think Zuckerberg was one of them. And see, those people, they stepped down, still run the company. They just are no longer like the official chair or whatever. Mm-hmm. So there was not a change of management, and yet it happened. So the thing I wonder is, I just wonder if their clicks went down enough where they thought, well, we're losing all these conservative eyeballs. We need to actually try to get, it's a money-making scheme. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know either. But like I said, if I'm Trump, I'm going back on.
Sure.
Just because, I mean, it's a win-win for me.
Mm-hmm. I get
and then you can give, as Dan Bongino says, the double barrel.
Not literally.
Yeah. Not the gun, but the double barrel.
Oh, I took it the wrong way.
Yeah, there's there's something between these.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not appropriate for.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, why are you saying it then?
Anyway, because it's appropriate the way I'm saying it. It's not appropriate. Anyway. But yeah, if you got banned, it's double barrel deal, type thing. And because, hey, I win either way, again, the media will cover it.
Gotcha.
Because they'll trick themselves into saying, oh yeah, look, Trump got banned again, he's never changed, etc. But then it's only going to backfire in their face, in my opinion. Anytime they cover Trump, it typically backfires in their face.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, on the one hand, it may change one person's mind, like, oh, y'all banned him for no reason. But to be honest, I don't see a whole lot of people's minds changing.
Yeah.
The question is, will it be fair, and how will things be covered? I mean, I personally don't think that any of the changing of how CNN is being run is an actual change. I think it's like a ceremonial change of, oh, we're going to come back to the middle. And it's like, even if you are, that's not good enough. And I don't even think you are. You're still going to be liberal, and their coverage is not changed. I will think, okay, maybe you are, when they actually fire Don Lemon. Yeah. When they fire other people, not just, what's his name? Jake Tapper. So in that same vein, I want to go into we want to talk about big tech, because you mentioned in an episode that we didn't talk about big tech. Let's go into this. Do you remember, and I'd forgotten this, I should have mentioned this in the censorship angle we're going to go into now. Jake Tapper, a long time ago, this was probably 2018 or 2019, talked about how YouTube channels and other like online platforms like Breitbart, like Newsmax, getting so many views, much more than CNN, much more than MSNBC. And he actually looked into the camera, I think it was Jake Tapper, and said, and that brings an interesting question, should companies like DirecTV and Dish Network at the time, Dish Network, and other companies, should they be, a Roku, for example, Fire Stick, should they be platforming these channels, or should they remove the channel? And guess what? DirecTV and AT&T have removed Newsmax. So years later, what he was kind of alluding to, which I just thought that is a blatant call for violating free speech. You're saying, yes, they should. They should censor these sites that we don't like.
Now, DirecTV did come out with a statement saying that it was not a issue via politically. It was, now again, I take some of this with a grain of salt. They did say it was a negotiation issue or like contract issue, I guess. Something to do with that.
So you're saying that we shouldn't believe whatsoever what the media says?
No, I'm saying research.
what the media says, but we should believe what DirecTV
Oh yeah,
says.
100%. But no, what I am really saying is, maybe they're telling the truth, possibly. Again, not everything has to be, oh, this is definitely what it is. No,
Sure.
don't jump to conclusions,
Sure.
But again, it's probably that. But, before we say it is that, yeah,
Look into it.
Look into it, of course.
So there's
rules always
that.
apply.
Yeah, but to me, it could be a convenient excuse. But
Oh, yeah,
so that
100%.
happens along with AT&T. They do the same thing. So you say DirecTV has made that statement. I don't think AT&T has said anything.
Yeah, I don't think AT&T has said anything
And
yet.
here's the interesting thing: Trump has spoken on this. Other people have spoken on this, saying, "Well, then don't buy their product." And apparently, it's costing them. They're having people cancel.
Oh, I'm
having
sure.
people call them up and say, "I'll finish out my plan and then I'm done."
Yeah.
And they're worried. Some of them are worried. Now the question is, and this is an interesting thing: what incentive is going to win out? Will the incentive of okay, good, we banned Newsmax win out, or will the incentive of the almighty dollar wear out?
No.
If it's the dollar they
wins.
will beg, please come back. We'll put Newsmax back on.
Yeah.
But they may not. I mean, because there's been communities or platforms or companies that have done things and they didn't care if they lost money. We see this all the time in Hollywood. It's woke, and they don't care that people are going to movies less. Because then there's people going to a different movie, and Hollywood still makes money. It's just off of a different movie.
Eventually, I think the dollar starts to win.
Question is to what point? How long does it take?
When
And
things
it
keep
may be
going
10 years before they finally say hardly anyone's using our product except for the ultra left, and then they come back.
Well, here's the thing. I think the dollar's kind of winning to an extent because did you see? So you watched the Super Bowl a little bit, right?
A little bit.
Did you see the Disney commercial?
I don't believe so.
All right. Well, the Disney commercial was just kind of promoting, I guess, their 100th something or whatever.
Okay.
Like 100 years. I have no idea. Something. And it was like all the shows that we grew up with.
Okay.
Like, like Lion King, Peter Pan, which they have a warning label on, like, if you go
Disney
to Disney
Plus,
Plus.
yeah.
But that's beside the point. They didn't have any of like
Because they
their
didn't show Elizabeth Warren in the correct makeup.
They didn't have their new shows and all that stuff. They had all the
Interesting.
shows that you and I grew up with and stuff.
Interesting.
So the question is, now I don't trust them. I'm still not giving them my money.
Sure.
Like no, I'm not. No, forget you. But my thing is I think that they're trying to show people, or at least trick people, into saying like, hey, like they're at least recognizing like, hey, we're losing money,
Sure.
or like have lost money. A lot of it too. People have canceled, Disney Plus memberships. People have canceled their yearly passes. People have canceled all types of stuff for Disney.
Right.
And just not bought Disney in general. It's affecting them. So I think they're at least trying to maybe trick people into thinking that the question is, are you is it a trick, or are you actually recognizing that, hey, people will, so I do think that money is slowly starting to at least affect people to where like, hey, we changed. Now again, is it a trick? I don't know. But I do think that the dollar has a little more of a say for these corporations than we think, and it just takes time for these things to happen.
What do you think the solution is? So, this is the question. When it comes to freedom of speech and when it comes to private property rights of a company,
Yeah.
should AT&T and DirecTV be allowed to say, we refuse to platform Newsmax? Whether they say it's for non-political reasons or political reasons, should they be allowed to?
So the way I see this is like, if I run a company, like a DirecTV, like a provider, I get to choose what channel. If I don't want to put sports channels on,
Whatever.
yeah, or if I don't want to put Disney on, I don't put Disney on. It doesn't matter what the channel is. It doesn't. The only problem I do have with it, it's kind of weird that like, oh, you provide CNN and all other liberal networks, but no right wing or no in the middle. Like that's weird.
Yeah.
Like but again, they have the right to choose. Now, is that censorship? A little bit, but you can't impede on their right to choose. And also, you've got the argument, well, the buyer has the right not to go to them.
That I 100% believe. So when it comes to the TV things, I'd have to do more research and think about channels with internet or otherwise.
Yeah.
The big thing that I think about with censorship, we can go into the meta thing, is you don't call yourself a neutral platform, which is what they say, and then remove Trump for political reasons.
Right, 100%.
That's the issue. He did not commit a crime.
You actually have to be neutral.
Yeah, he did not commit a crime. He did not incite a riot, and yet he was removed for that reason. So it's like that's an allegation. That's not a fact. He did not incite a riot. So your whole reason for taking him off either platform, Twitter or Meta, is just nonsense. And so, look, if you want to say we're a left-wing organization, we don't want you, that's one thing.
Yeah.
That would be like if CNN said, if Trump went to CNN and said, hey, I can call into Don Lemon and talk to him, and they said, well, no, we don't want to do that. That's completely different than a social media site that says we're neutral, anyone can come, we're going to serve all comers except for him.
Except for, yeah.
So that's the issue. Similarly, I mean, there's interesting things. There are actually laws, at least theoretically, now they're not being applied very well in Britain, saying that you can't say, well, here at Visa, if you vote conservative, then we don't want you. You're banned.
Yeah.
You can't do that. There's actually like anti-discrimination legislation there. The question is, should said legislation, Britain or otherwise, apply to social media sites saying, no, you can't. Now, if someone's doing like explicit content or calling for violence or something like that, explicit content meaning they're breaking the law, like there's not consent. Because there's sites where you can put explicit content, but there's warnings up front saying, hey, what you're going to see is not going to be good, et cetera, et cetera. You're consenting by viewing the site. 4chan's an example of that. But then there's other sites that don't market themselves that way, and they do ban accounts that do that stuff. But so if you're not doing that, and if you're not calling for violence, so you're keeping the law, you're not committing a crime by saying, for example, promoting FTX and it ended up being a bit gigantic scam. If you're not doing that, I can understand why SBF will get his account removed if he was still trying to push people to buy FTX. To my knowledge, he's not, although he's the world's biggest scam artist. So anyway, if you're not committing a crime or calling for violence, telling people to commit a crime, you cannot call yourself a neutral platform if you remove someone for doing something that's beside that.
Right.
For political reasons. You can't say, well, since you're for immigration control, you're racist and we're going to remove you for your racism. That's subjective. That's not an objective fact that you went and shot immigrants. That's an objective fact if someone did that. It's not to say I have a policy position that disagrees with people coming into this country at the rate that it is. And that's my issue. So for that reason, there's talks about Section 230. To me, the status quo is unsustainable. Do we repeal Section 230? I don't know. That needs to be read in Congress, and it at least needs to be amended in some form, saying, no, you're not going to remove people for political reasons. Because that's the thing. It all affects one side. Name me the last time a left-winger got in trouble on social media. I can't think of a single time. You know, there was one guy that was under fire, TJ Kirk, but see, arguably he was more on the right. He had a political transformation where he came more to the left. And once he came more to the left, no issues. But and now the Young Turks do have some things going on with them on YouTube, but it's because they swear every other sentence.
Right.
So they have a warning saying, hey, you need to be 17 to watch this. That's all. Other than that, they're free speech because they're on the left. Other people, they land in hot water. They get their YouTube channels removed. They get their Facebook accounts banned, things like that. And so Section 230 at least needs to be amended, if not repealed. But the question is, if you repeal it, okay, what do you put on next? What's the replacement? There needs to be some kind of replacement. So.
And people still find loopholes, like, oh yeah, you can't ban them for, political things, or oh, you can't not do business for political things. They'll just find another reason.
Which is why we need alternatives. We need
because they can just choose just not to do business for you.
We need an Odyssey. We need a Rumble. We need a Truth Social.
100%. Like,
that's where the argument.
Our alternative, honestly, like in this case, is not in Congress. Like it's an alternative, economy and everything else. Like, our hope is not in Congress for this, in my opinion. Because again, they're just gonna find loopholes, man.
Right.
Like that's my thing. Like, fine. We go out and do our own thing. I mean, that's the solution in my opinion.
I think you're right.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing.
No, you're not.
If that was how it worked, that'd be great. But companies are just gonna find loopholes.
And the other thing is the chances of it going through Congress are slim.
Oh
I don't know. That would be very, very hard to get that done. And that's another thing. People in 2024 need to be talking about big tech as well.
100%.
They do. And they need to say, this is our plan, and this is how. Because if you repeal it, the good thing about 230 is if you would never do this, but if you were to comment or tweet someone back with a slur, then Twitter could not be sued for your comment. You could now, if you broke the law.
Nor should Twitter be sued.
Right. That's the good thing about Section 230.
Oh, 100%.
You cannot be sued as a social, because again, technically speaking, literally speaking, this is what they're labeled as a neutral platform. They understand the law, the letter of the law understands you, Twitter, are not tweeting the N-word, for example. Someone else out there, Bob number 3, is tweeting.
Exactly.
They can get in trouble.
Bob is the racist, not Twitter.
Right.
But
so if you repeal Section 230, what does that mean? What's the replacement? Are you going to have Twitter be responsible for these places? Now, here's the thing. If you are censoring, like if you're taking upon yourself to censor, maybe arguably so, you should have protections for neutral platforms, not for publishers, ones that say, well, we here at Facebook only allow this kind and not this.
Yeah.
Then maybe arguably you should be responsible. But anyway, there needs to be some kind of replacement for 230, and I want to hear it. I want to have, and I think honestly, a presidential candidate needs to say, you know what, I'm a presidential candidate, I'm not an expert, but I'm going to appoint so-and-so as a tech expert for what we're going to do about big tech, and then have that person speak in other speeches.
I want to see a candidate that promotes that way, because we hear Ben Shapiro, Dan Bongino, and everybody else talk about pretty much every conservative news or podcast out there, talk about an alternate, market or whatever, just in general, alternate banking, I forget the Congress thing, like it, in my opinion, not forget it, but we've got some chips there, but my chips, like majority of the chips here are here. We're we want to work on that for sure, but this is the main plan, because because the thing is can we trust the companies enough? No, we can't. So we want to put most of the chips here.
It's like 2 pedals on a bicycle you need to push, because if you only go with alternatives, the people right now, like YouTube and Facebook, they've got all the power. So there needs to be some kind of a push on them. Right. But you're right. At the same time,
that's why I want to hear push.
Right. Again, to me, there needs to be. I think it needs to be equal. And not only does it need to be equal, it's not going to actually be addressed and attacked until people talk about it more, especially on the forefront of the presidential stage.
Exactly.
And that's why it doesn't need to be talked about now. And I do think that since Trump has had his accounts removed, when he gets on the debate stage, he'll talk about it, I hope.
Probably.
But all of them need to talk about it. To me, that's like a benchmark. That's another thing. That's another thing I need to talk about, or I should have said in my Telegram message about my 4 requirements. You got to talk about big tech. Yeah. Something. Yeah. Some kind of a editing or amending of 230, or repealing it and having a replacement. That could be instead of repeal and replace Obamacare, repeal and replace 230.
100%.
Something like that.
100%.
So anything else you wanted to cover? Because I think we're good.
Yeah, no, I think we're good, honestly.
Awesome. Listen to his podcast that he's going to be putting out. Are you making one this week?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably Sunday morning, likely.
Tune in. We want to be following that as well. That's still on the Zoo Nation channel. So you'll be getting it on this channel. And we very much appreciate you all tuning in. My name is Josh.
I'm Nathan.
Everyone have a good evening, and thank you.